You know that moment when you realize you've been doing the same digital task 50 times a week for no good reason? Maybe it's copying newsletter subscribers to your spreadsheet. Maybe it's adding book launch tasks to your project manager every single time. Maybe it's just doing stuff that computers should absolutely be doing for you. Today, we're diving into Zapier, the tool that connects your apps so they talk to each other without you playing messenger. By the end of this, you'll have your first automation running. We call them Zaps. And you'll understand enough to build dozens more. This matters because your time is worth more than data entry. Let's put that time back in your day. Before we jump in, let's make sure you've got everything you need. A free Zapier account. You can sign up at zapier.com/sign-up. 2 apps you want to connect. We'll use Gmail and Google Sheets in our example, but you can follow along with almost any apps. And about 15 minutes and a willingness to feel like a tech wizard. Pause the video here if you need to create your Zapier account. The free plan gives you 100 tasks per month, which is plenty for testing and light use. No credit card required. All right, let's talk about how Zapier actually works. Zapier has its own vocabulary, but it's logical once you know it. The main thing you need to understand is what a Zap is. A Zap is basically a recipe that connects your apps. Think of it like a little robot that watches one app and does something in another app when certain conditions are met. Every Zap has 2 main parts, the trigger and the action. The trigger is the thing that starts the automation, the when this happens part. The action is what happens automatically in response, the do that part. Trigger, then action. When this, do that. That's the foundation of every automation you'll build. Here's a real example to make this concrete. When I get a starred email in Gmail, add a row to my Google Sheet. In this case, starring an email in Gmail is the trigger. Adding a row to Google Sheets is the action. The Zap just waits in the background for you to star an email, and when you do, boom, the action fires automatically. No manual clicking, no copying and pasting, no switching between tabs. It's all automatic. Now, you might be wondering what apps actually work with Zapier. The answer is pretty much everything. Zapier connects over 6,000 apps. If you use it on the internet, it probably works with Zapier. Email platforms, calendars, project managers, spreadsheets, social media tools, bookkeeping software, you name it, it's probably there. Let's talk about what you get with the free plan, because that's where most people start. The free tier gives you single-step Zaps. That means 1 trigger and 1 action. And you get 100 tasks per month. A task is 1 time the Zap runs. So if your Zap fires 100 times in a month, that's 100 tasks. It sounds limiting, but honestly, it's enough to learn the system and handle several useful automations. Paid plans unlock multi-step Zaps, which means 1 trigger can fire multiple actions in sequence. They also give you access to premium apps and much higher task limits. We're starting with the free plan today, but I'll be honest, once you see what's possible, you'll probably want to upgrade. That's exactly what happened to me. Okay, enough theory. Let's build your first Zap together. I'm going to walk you through this step by step, and by the end, you'll have a working automation that takes starred emails from Gmail and adds them to a Google Sheet. Ready? Let's do this. First things first. Once you're logged into Zapier, look for the big orange Create Zap button. It's usually in the top left corner of your dashboard. You can't miss it. It's bright orange and practically begging you to click it. Go ahead and click that button now. You'll land on the Zap editor, which is where all the magic happens. Don't worry if it looks a little overwhelming at first. We're going to take this 1 step at a time. The first thing you'll see is a box asking you to choose your trigger app. This is where you tell Zapier what app to watch. For our example, we're using Gmail. So type Gmail into that search box and select it from the dropdown. Once you've selected Gmail, Zapier will ask you to choose a trigger event. This is the specific thing that will start your automation. You'll see a bunch of options here: new email, new attachment, new labeled email, and so on. We want new starred email. That means every time you star an email in Gmail, this Zap will fire. Go ahead and select that option. Now here's where it gets real. Zapier needs permission to access your Gmail account. Click the button that says Sign in to Gmail and follow the prompts to connect your account. You'll be asked to grant Zapier permission to read your emails. I know that might feel a little scary, but here's the thing. Zapier only accesses what it needs to make the automation work. It's not reading your emails for fun or selling your data. It's just watching for that star so it can do its job. Once you've connected your account, you'll see a confirmation message. Now comes one of my favorite parts: testing the trigger. Zapier will actually reach into your Gmail account and pull in a recent starred email to make sure everything's working. You'll see on screen, this test data is how Zapier knows what information is available. This is super important because it shows you exactly what data Zapier can grab from Gmail: the sender, the subject line, the body of the email, the date, all of it. If you don't have any starred emails yet, Zapier will tell you. Just go star an email in Gmail real quick, then come back and click Test Trigger again. Once you see that test data pop up, you're golden. Click Continue to move on to the action step. All right, now we're setting up the action, the thing that happens automatically when you star an email. Click on the action box and search for Google Sheets. Select it from the dropdown. Now you'll choose the action event. We want Create Spreadsheet Row, which means every time the Zap runs, it'll add a new row to your spreadsheet. Just like with Gmail, you'll need to connect your Google Sheets account. Click Sign in to Google Sheets and follow the prompts. Grant Zapier permission to access your spreadsheets. Once that's done, you'll see a drop-down asking you to choose which spreadsheet you want to use. Pick the one where you want your starred emails to land. If you don't have one yet, you can create a new Google Sheet right now and come back. Next, you'll choose which worksheet within that spreadsheet. Most people just use Sheet 1, unless you've got a specific setup in mind. Now here's where it gets interesting. Field mapping. This is where you tell Zapier exactly what information to put in each column of your spreadsheet. You'll see a list of fields like column A, column B, and so on. Next to each one, there's a box where you can insert data from your Gmail trigger. Click inside one of those boxes and you'll see a drop-down with all the data Zapier pulled from your test email: sender, subject, body, date, everything. Let's say you want column A to be the sender's email address. Click in the column A box, find From Email in the drop-down, and select it. Want column B to be the subject line? Click in column B, select Subject. Column C could be the email body. Column D could be the date received. You're literally telling Zapier, take this piece of information from Gmail and put it here in my spreadsheet. This is called mapping, and it's one of the most powerful concepts in Zapier. You're mapping data from one app to another. Once you understand mapping, you can build incredibly sophisticated automations. For now, just map the fields you care about. You don't have to fill in every column, only the ones you want. Once you've mapped your fields, click Continue. All right, before you turn this thing on, we need to test it. This is super important. Zapier is about to create a real row in your real spreadsheet using your test data. This is how you know it works before you activate it. Look for the button that says Test Action and click it. Then wait. This takes a few seconds while Zapier talks to Google Sheets and creates that test row. When it works, success looks like this. Zapier shows you a success message and a link to view your spreadsheet. Click that link and go check it out. There's your test data, sitting pretty in a new row. Subject, sender, body. Exactly where you mapped it. If you see that, you're golden. Now, if you see an error instead, don't panic. Zapier will tell you what went wrong. Usually, it's one of three things. You selected the wrong spreadsheet or worksheet, so go back and reselect the right one. Or you're missing required fields, so add data to any empty required fields. Or there are permission issues, which means you need to reconnect your account. Once your test works and you see that beautiful new row in your spreadsheet, it's time to turn this Zap on. Look for the button at the top that says Publish or Turn on Zap. Click it. Boom. Your Zap is now live. From this moment on, every time you star an email in Gmail, Zapier will automatically add it to your Google Sheet. No manual work required. You just built your first automation. Now, before we wrap up, let me give you one piece of advice that future you will absolutely thank present you for. Give your Zaps clear names. Zapier auto-generates something like add starred Gmail emails to Google Sheets, which is fine. But if you build a dozen Zaps, you'll want better names. Trust me on this. Click on the Zap name at the top to edit it. Try something like starred emails to task log sheet or important emails to tracking sheet. Make it memorable. Make it something you'll recognize 6 months from now when you're looking at your Zap dashboard. Clear naming is one of those small habits that makes a huge difference when you start building multiple automations. Do it now while you're thinking about it. All right, you've got your first Zap running. That's huge. But now let's talk about what comes next. The features that take you from beginner to power user. These are the tools that let you troubleshoot, add logic, clean up messy data, and build automations that do way more than just one simple action. First up, Zap History. Think of this as your automation receipt. Every single time your Zap runs, Zapier logs it. Click Zap History in your dashboard, and you'll see a complete record of every run, successful or not. This is your first stop when something goes wrong. Here's what you're looking at. Green check marks mean success. Your Zap ran perfectly and the data went through. Red X's mean something failed. Maybe the spreadsheet was deleted, maybe a field was empty, maybe permissions changed. Click on any run to see exactly what data passed through and where it stumbled. This is how you debug your automations. If you see a pattern of failures, you know something needs fixing. If everything's green, you're golden. Zap History is like having a security camera for your automations. You can always go back and see what happened. Now let's talk about filters. This is a paid feature, but it's incredibly powerful. Filters let you add conditions to your Zaps. Instead of running every single time the trigger fires, you can say only run when certain conditions are met. Here's an example. Let's say you want to add emails to your sheet, but only if they're from a specific person, or only if the subject line contains the word urgent. You set up a filter step between your trigger and your action. It's like a bouncer for your automation, checking credentials before letting data through. You can get really specific with filters. Multiple conditions, and logic, or logic, it's all there. This is how you make sure your Zaps only fire when they absolutely should, saving you tasks and keeping your data clean. Before we move on, let's talk about troubleshooting. Because here's the truth, sometimes Zaps don't work perfectly right away. When that happens, here are the 4 most common issues and their quick fixes. First, my Zap isn't triggering. Check that your trigger app is set up correctly and has new data. Some triggers take a few minutes to detect changes. Also, verify your Zap is turned on. Second, wrong data appearing in my action. Go back to your field mapping. Make sure you're pulling from the right trigger fields. If the test trigger data looks wrong, you probably mapped the wrong field. Third, I hit my task limit. Each Zap run uses one task. Triggers that fire constantly, like new email, use up tasks quickly. Use more specific triggers or consider upgrading your plan. And fourth, Zap worked once, then stopped. Check Zap History for errors. Usually it's a permissions issue, Reconnect your account, or the trigger stopped seeing new data. Verify in the Trigger app. Next up, formatters. These are built-in tools that transform data before it hits your action. Real-world data is messy. Dates come in different formats, text has extra spaces, numbers need calculations. Formatters handle all of that. Common uses include reformatting dates so they match your spreadsheet format, extracting specific text from a longer string, doing math operations like adding or multiplying numbers, and splitting text into separate pieces. You add a formatted jacket just like you'd add any other action, and Zapier gives you a menu of transformation options. Formatters are one of those features you don't think you need until you hit a data problem, and then they become essential. They're the cleanup crew for your automations. All right, here's where things get really exciting. Multi-step Zaps. This is a paid feature, but it's the real power move. Instead of one trigger and one action, you get one trigger and multiple actions in sequence. Here's an example. Someone fills out a form on your website. With a multi-step Zap, you could automatically add them to your email list, create a row in your tracking sheet, send yourself a Slack notification, and add a task to your project manager, all from one form submission. All automatic. This is where Zapier stops being a simple connector and becomes a full automation platform. Once you master single-step Zaps, multi-step becomes your playground. You can chain together 5, 10, even 20 actions if you need to. Each one fires in order, using data from the steps before it. And finally, let's talk about delays and schedules. Sometimes you don't want your action to fire immediately. Maybe you want to wait an hour before sending a follow-up email. Maybe you only want your Zap to run during business hours. That's where delay steps and schedule filters come in. Add a delay step to pause your automation for a specific amount of time, minutes, hours, even days. Add a schedule filter to only run during certain hours or on certain days of the week. These extras give you precise control over timing, which can be crucial for customer-facing automations. All of these features, history, filters, formatters, multi-step Zaps, delays, and schedules, they're the tools that take you from I automated one thing to I automated my entire workflow. You don't need them all right away. But knowing they exist means you'll recognize when you need them. You just built your first automation. That deserves acknowledgement. What used to require you copying and pasting between apps now happens automatically while you do literally anything else. This is just the beginning. Every app you use probably connects to Zapier, and every manual task you do repeatedly is a candidate for automation. Don't let your inbox boss you around when you can make it report to a spreadsheet instead. Start with one Zap, get comfortable, then build another. The goal isn't to automate everything immediately. It's to automate one annoying thing at a time until you look up and realize you've bought back hours of your week. Questions? Hit me up. Want more automation tutorials? Subscribe. And seriously, go star an email right now and watch your Zap work. It never gets old.